Hello and welcome to a Thanksgiving edition of Andy's Chopping at the Bit. Today is Thursday, 11/24/22. Yes, it is Thanksgiving. Um, and this year's Thanksgiving is a little different than what we're typically used to in our family, at least. Uh, Growing up, we usually had usually at least 20 people, if not 20 plus people. It was pretty crazy in a good way. Um, this year it's a lot smaller. This year is 28 people, sorry. Um, Only 8 of us, including me. A lot more personal. It's going to be good, though. But the big thing that I kept hearing on the news and on social media was food's going to be more expensive. So do potluck style Thanksgiving. Um, we always did potluck style Thanksgiving. Honestly, like, my aunt would bring the rolls. We'd bring the stuffing. Um, it was always like that because, feeding 20 people, you're not going to put it on one person. Well, you could, but we just don't do that. It's not the Warnat thing. We kind of divvy it up between all of us. Everyone takes their own little part of it, and that way we all fill up and usually have leftovers. Um, but my mom, she was in charge of the stuffing usually. She still is, I believe. Um, and usually it's really good. I love stuffing. That's my favorite part of Thanksgiving. But there were a couple years where she kind of tried getting creative, to put it nicely. And creativity doesn't always go good with Thanksgiving. Um, she one year put water chestnuts in the stuffing, which some of you guys might like. I don't know. I personally don't. I like my crunch to be somewhere other than the stuffing, just to say. And it didn't really change the flavor much, but like I said, the texture is kind of weird when you're expecting the stuffing texture, and all of a sudden you get a crunch. So, didn't like that. And then a couple years later, she she decided to add cranberries to the stuffing, which once again, if you like cranberries, you might like that. Um, Personally, the way I look at it, you get cranberry sauce already, and then you have regular stuffing, and if you really want to mix the two, do it yourself. Um, I don't like it mixed in already. And she made one regular stuffing and one with cranberries, which was nice. Problem is, everyone went for the regular stuffing, so if you wanted seconds, you were stuck with the cranberry. So it kind of encouraged you to eat less too. So it was a win-win in a way. It's just never again do we have cranberries in our stuffing. Um, but my job was always to make the pies. Um, I make a really good blueberry pie. Well, my uncle Myron, he passed away last year. He used to make a really good strawberry rhubarb pie too. But the reason I make the blueberry pie is because my dad does not like regular pie crust. He absolutely hates it. He doesn't mind the filling, but he hates the crust. And a friend of his, Chris Losi, his mother, Linda Losi, makes pies, but with a sweeter crust, and he loves those pies. So I kind of reached out and talked to Linda, and she gave me her crust recipe, and I slightly modified it, but for the most part, it is the same um, as hers. So it's a sweeter crust, and then I use that to make the crust, and I put my from scratch blueberry pie filling in it, and I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty darn good. It's really good. Um, Big guys typically know how to cook. Just kind of goes with the territory. Um, or at least we're supposed to. But with our family, I mean, I see a lot of people that have different things that our family doesn't have. Some people have ham instead of turkey, or some people have ham and turkey for Christmas or for Thanksgiving. We don't do that. We are pretty much typically turkey for Thanksgiving, ham for Christmas. It's how we roll. It's a Warnat thing. But anyway, and then turkey, there you always have the white meat, the dark meat. They say the dark meat's less healthy. But for some reason, I fall asleep more when I eat the white meat. Maybe it's because I eat more, but I don't know. That's good. I can't argue that. It is good. And whenever you get that plate, that first plate, you're like, a little bit of this, a little bit of this. By the time you're done with the plate, it's like, it's stacked. Well, at least for me it is. So I want to put everything on the one plate. I'm going to try everything at once. I don't have to come back later, which I still come back later, hence the size. But anyway, so it's really hard to moderate that sometimes because you want to try everyone's stuff. It's always good. It's the best meal of the year, let's be realistic. And it kind of stinks because yesterday I decided to Yesterday decided to start using an app called MyFitnessPal again. And it wasn't until about 5 o'clock last night that I realized I decided to use this app and start counting calories the day before Thanksgiving. Like, honestly, why would you do that the day before Thanksgiving? You know you're going to go off on Thanksgiving. Start on Black Friday, right? You know? But I started it yesterday, so still taking today off, though. I have to, otherwise it's going to look really bad when I see that big red exuberant amount of calories over what I'm supposed to consume. So, yep, today's an off day for that. On for everything else, off for counting food. But back to the foods or the number of people at Thanksgiving. There's pros and cons to having the big group and the small group. I'm gonna reflect on the big group first. I really did like having that big family atmosphere. Because I get to see so many different people in the family that I only see once a year, if that, twice a year for some of them. But you get to meet them, you get to catch up with them. A lot happens in a year that you don't realize. And of course, social media changed it a little bit. Now you can interact with them anytime. But actually sitting down, meeting them face to face, talking to them, it just, something about it feels good. It's like a family reunion, but you actually know everyone there. You know, some of the family reunions, you're half being polite. Most of the people you don't know. Your parents might know them. Your grandparents definitely know them. You don't know them. Which is kind of weird sometimes. But I like seeing my cousins, my aunts and uncles. If I can't see them for Christmas, can't see them for whatever reason during the year, which sometimes it's my fault of not being able to see them. But I always like Thanksgiving. It's just, I don't know, it's a good environment. Sit down, eat a lot of food, and talk about stuff. And nice thing about having a lot of people, there's always something to do after you eat or before you eat. And that's my big problem when I have the small groups. I eat often too much on Thanksgiving. And there's that little thing called a food coma that I easily slip into because all that food just sitting in my belly, all that starch. And when you have a lot of people, there's always something to do to kind of like prevent that food coma going into effect. When it's a smaller group, it's so easy to just sit down on the couch, listen to people, then, you know, it happens. That's kind of like a routine I go into when it's a small group, but not a healthy routine, definitely. And not one I choose to go into beforehand. It kind of just happens on the fly. I'm like, man, I'm so tired. Well, I'll keep listening. I'll just close my eyes. You know, I'm still listening. Yeah, yeah, still listening. Not really. No, I'm asleep by then. So I really liked that, but there were some cons to the big groups. There's a little thing about the we're not family that's a little intense at times, and that's Thanksgiving almost always. I think one time when it was a big group, this did not happen. That is, we're not talk politics. And Thanksgiving is not the place to be talking politics. Just saying, it is really not the place, especially when your family is so polar divided on the issue. Our family is very liberal, and it is very conservative. There are very few, if any, moderates. At least they don't speak on Thanksgiving because you have two of the polar sides really just going at it. No one physically fights. No one name calls. That's a good thing. We're at least able to classily handle our debates. But they do get intense. They really get intense. Like I said, no one calls each other names. But we have these intense debates. As if somehow if I say this to the conservative and they say this to me, we're going to change our minds. We're a passionate group of people in our family. I could say whatever. I could have all the facts in a row and say exactly my case and completely blow them out of the water in my mind of their case. They're not going to change sides. I guarantee you. And I know that because they could say all the stuff in the world to me. And if I have this list of things I already know or think I know, I'm not going to change my mind. So why in the world would I expect them to change theirs in that situation? Now, there are some issues where there is some common ground. I really looked hard to find that common ground because it's getting harder and harder to find. But we sometimes can work it out. I mean, occasionally, on the very rare occasion. So the last time we had a big group, we hosted it when we lived in Northern Shores, and that was one thing. Like I messaged everyone as they were coming in through the door. I'm like, oh, we're not talking politics today. We're not talking politics. And I think we went like 90, probably 98% of that time without talking a single thing of politics. Until the very end, a couple of them started. I just walked away, which, as you guys know me, that's not an easy thing to do. When it's something I have an interest in, like opinions. So, yeah, that was kind of a tough one that last time. But it's slowly been shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. My cousins now have their own families. They have other families because they're married. Some of them have passed away, you know. But it's just kind of shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. So now we're down to 8 people, which is okay. We got, let's see. The big reason we're going to 8 is because we could have went with the bigger family groups, but my Aunt Levon, she sad, but she has dementia, and it's pretty bad, pretty late stages. So my Uncle Kyle is struggling with it. They've been married for a very long time, 50 plus years long. So it is not an easy situation for them. It's really hard for him, and he doesn't want to put her in a home. And I don't blame him. I've worked at some of the places, and I wouldn't want to be there, and get alone any family member to be there. Some of them are nice if you have the money. I think they might have the money, but still, it's still hard to do, especially with someone with dementia. That is, dementia, Alzheimer's are the 2 big ones for me. I could go out pair lives, I'll be okay. I could go, you know, ALS or Parkinson's. They're really bad. Don't get me wrong, they are really bad. But something about dementia and Alzheimer's, the idea of being at the end of your life and your last moments, not knowing where you are, who you are, who's around you, just complete confusion. And even just looking at your hands, if you do remember, because usually it's older memories when you're a kid, and just looking at your hands and all of a sudden you see the old people's hands. You know, those kind of moments got to be terrifying. I can't imagine it not being terrifying. So that's a hard one to go with, and it's hard on those around. So for this Thanksgiving, we're going to my Uncle Kyle and Aunt Levon's, and we're gonna have a heck of a time. I'm gonna see my aunt. She probably won't know who I am. Probably won't know who any of us are, or even what's going on. But it might be the last time I get to see her, so I'm gonna make the most of it. I'm gonna love the experience. And the nice thing about the small group, we get to catch up with everyone in a much more detailed manner. You know, we can really talk about things, not just the glazed cover of what happened the past year. We can actually sit down and have a good discussion. Another thing that's nice about only the 8 people, my family tends to be the kind that everyone wants to talk at the same time. And though we're not Italian, us Germans still like to work our way up the ladder on who's talking and when. It's not quite shouting, but it's talking very, very loud just to be heard over someone else. And if someone laughs, I guarantee you that's drowning out all conversation. We laugh really loud too. It's kind of like a we're not thing. I don't know. But we get up there in volume. And the thing I like about the 8-person group compared to the 20, and this one isn't as significant, but it's still kind of cool. Everyone can sit at one table. And that might not sound like a big deal to a lot of you, but I was sitting at the kids' table until I was in my 20s. And yeah, I liked all my cousins. Got along great with them. But you kind of feel weird when you're still sitting at the kids' table and you're like 28 years old. And you're like, one of these years, I'll be at the big guy table. Of course, when you get there, you're like, man, lucky kids. Now I'm sitting with the old folks. No, it's not that bad. But it's nice kind of being at the main table with everyone. Everyone's inclusive. So, like I said, the only downside of the 8-person group is not being able to socialize with everyone that I'm used to socializing with. Some people I might not see this year. Some people I might not see for a few years, just because of we grew up, we have families, or they have families. I'm working on it, but the people branch out, they move on, and I guess that means I have to attend more family reunions so I can see everyone. And that'll be a task getting people to show up to family reunions too. That's never easy. But in the meantime, I'm going to enjoy this Thanksgiving. I'm going to stuff myself more than I probably should. I'm going to have a nice non-political Thanksgiving. And I didn't make the pie this year, so I'm slacking. But I'll make one for Christmas. Yeah, I'll make up for it in Christmas, and I'll probably take a picture of it, put it on my Facebook page, something like that. Just kind of show off on it. But that's all I got for you guys right now. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and I will talk to you tomorrow with another Daily Biscuit, the last one of the week. See ya.